You're listening to Becoming CEO, where we share our journeys as solo founders to becoming the CEO of seven-figure businesses.
And these are our behind-the-scenes conversations as we figure it out. And these are things that most people just aren't sharing. I'll go first. So right before we hit record, we always kind of sync up on like what we're going to talk about. And you raised a situation, and my gut response was, oh, you're going to do A. And you're like, no, I'm going to do B. And I want you to share, to whatever degree you want to share, what that situation is, and like talk through how you're approaching the decision and commitment to seeing it through. So can you give us context?
Last year, 2022, I think we've talked about this in the show before, we scaled our business down by about 30%, give or take. Mm-hmm. And by scale down, what I mean is, I'd say 30 to 40%. By scale down, what I mean is we cut our advertising spend and therefore cut our revenue by 30 to 40%. We did that because of the cash flow pressure that recessionary fears were having. Less people were buying. Revenue took a hit anyways. We couldn't afford to keep spending money on advertising at the clip that we were spending money on advertising at that time. So we deliberately cut ad spend and therefore cut revenue. And we've been riding at that level, 60 to 70% of where we were previously for the past 12 months. Okay. It's been fine. The problem is we didn't touch our cost base. Well, I'm not sure that's the problem, but the reality is we didn't touch our cost base. So at the level that we're at right now,
didn't you change some sales team?
Minimally. Yeah, but sales team's not really fundamentally changing the cost base because they're commissioned for the most part, right?
Sure, yeah.
So most of our fixed labor, there were some adjustments. Most of our fixed labor was untouched. And labor is the big fixed cost that we have.
Yeah.
Ads are variable. Sales team commissions are variable. Labor otherwise.
Right.
Marketing team, fulfillment team, delivery team, operations, etc. Those are all fixed costs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's largely untouched. Some adjustments, but largely untouched. And so the challenge we face now is that we've done fine, gotten by for the past 12 months, not really making a whole lot of money, or certainly not enough money, because we've cut revenue, but the cost base has largely stayed the same. So my response to this, which I think you were somewhat taken aback by, right? We'll talk about it.
Technically I wasn't. I was just, I wasn't actually taken back, but the way you presented it, I thought you were going a different direction.
Got it. Okay. So my response to this is we're going to scale back up, and we're going to do things a little bit differently than we did them in the past. I don't think we're going to end up spending as much money on advertising as we used to. There's some adjustments. The funnel has certainly improved since then. A lot of things have improved since then. So we've taken the last 12 months to also make some important adjustments to the business that have made it more efficient. And so my solution is we're going to scale back up in the coming 6 to 12 months to a similar revenue level as before, but with a more efficient operation that's more profitable. But I think what you sensed in my voice was, it's been a bit of a drag, right? It's like 12 months, you're working hard, you don't feel like you're making a whole lot of progress, and cash flow is a perennial concern, because if the business is not sufficiently profitable, you're not getting ahead, you're fighting the cash flow battle every month.
Yeah, and I think, from previous conversations, previous episodes, we talked about how, at least from conversations with peers and network, it's like kind of that 1 to 3 million range. It's like, you're investing in growth, and if growth doesn't follow, things are tight. And so you've kind of shared the story of, well, we scaled back some of that to clean some things up, but that leads to we've been we've been operating on a tighter margin, and so that's what you've been feeling, that pressure from operating on thinner margins for now 12-ish months, and
Yeah,
something
about 12
needs to
months. Yeah.
budge, and you're not looking to optimize expenses or anything like that. So it really is, can we increase ad spend with the goal of, you know, obviously increasing the cash flow from having more sales conversations, having more closes, having new clients enroll.
Yeah, and I think there's an important reason why at this stage, and obviously always reserve the right to change my mind, but at this stage, I'm not interested in touching the cost base in any kind of meaningful, significant way.
Right.
Because touching the cost base means affecting, materially affecting the way that we serve clients. It means changing our business model and our fulfillment model, which, in my humble opinion, is working really well, right? And changing the fulfillment and the delivery model also changes the offer and the pitch.
Why does the business model change?
Well, the fulfillment model changes, maybe not the business model. The
Well, yeah. So
fulfillment and the
I
delivery
mean, how
model
does the
changes.
fulfillment really change? It's not like you'd be
Because a
going
lot of our,
like you'd still be doing group. You would just probably be a little bit more involved, right? Like,
well, we're not really group only, we're a hybrid. So we have one-to-one coaching and we have group coaching,
got it.
right? And our group coaching is, yeah, some of this context is probably useful. Our group coaching is very wide in terms of breadth. We have about, I think, 4 or 5 coaches. We have 9 office hour calls per week. It's a lot of coaching, and it's one of our key selling points is that you don't get thrown into a Facebook group with 2 calls a week and a bunch of training, and you're told to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
We give our clients a lot of coaching opportunities with a wide breadth of subject matter experts, plus the one-to-one coaching. So it's baked into our unique selling proposition is like, this is not a big group program where you get lost. It's actually a small group program with a very wide breadth and depth of support.
Got it. Okay.
So to change that model would mean to change our proposition and change one of our key differentiators in the market, which I'm just not willing to do at this stage.
Fair. And so we have committed to a plan of raising ad spend. Like, how do we now think about approaching that while kind of knowing, like, how long are you going to allow this for? Like, what do you expect to see? How soon before you, like, is there a plan B? Like, not that there should be a plan B, but like, like you are going to expect to see certain things in a certain time frame. Uh, what happens? Obviously, we know what happens if you see what you're expecting and hoping, but what happens if you don't?
I don't do plan Bs.
Got it.
But I'll tell you this, the most reliable way to increase revenue is to raise ad spend and get myself back into sales.
But you're in sales now, right?
I haven't really been for the past 3 to 4
Oh,
months, give or
okay.
take.
I thought you've been
Yeah.
selling.
No, not
Got it.
really. I was earlier this year, have not been recently. And I don't know that I would be particularly confident in raising ad spend and bringing in new salespeople and expecting revenue to go up. I think my solution at this stage is raise ad spend, keep the team I have right now, raise ad spend, throw myself into the
Mm-hmm.
mix. So the incremental spend goes to fill up my calendar, fairly confident in my ability to convert those opportunities into revenue. And now I have options. Now revenue is up, it's where we want it to be. Profitability is strong. There's plenty of cash in the bank.
Mm.
Now, 6 to 9 months from now, most likely I'm in a position where I can now choose to bring somebody else on to replace me, but it's not, it's a comfortable place to be. It's coming from a place of
Well, how
strength
many
as
months was
opposed
that to
to
replace you?
6 to 9,
Yeah. Yeah.
give or take.
Yeah. So I think the interesting part, hopefully for the listeners, and at least for me, that I would like them to take away is like the approach is like the risk is being mitigated by the fact that you're not increasing sales team and adding additional complexity of now having to get new closers on board. You're stepping in, spending more time on this for a window of time that could be 6 to 9 months to position yourself to then go replace yourself in that order. And I think the well, at least hopefully one of the takeaways, and this goes back to a topic we've had in a previous episode, is like this is likely something that in all reality will probably from end to end will probably take 6 to 9 months. And I think there'd probably be a lot of folks that would be like, oh, like I'm gonna hop into sales for like 30 days and then add additional complexity by then trying to bring on closers and like try to do it too soon. Whereas like you're like, no, I'm gonna do the dirty work that, I think a lot of people probably wouldn't take on, and most especially not ride it out for over half a year. Now, obviously, it could go faster. You have a lot of experience building sales team already, so like it's not like you're having to acquire that new skill. Also, you have that skill ready to go. It's just the realities of like bringing on new salespeople also has a cost, right? Opportunity cost as well. And so, like you, owner, CEO, hey, I'm in the mix, and this is going to change my calendar. This is going to change, my priorities, uh, and this is how I'm going to. Literally, that seems like that would be the main focus for you for the next 6 to 9 months. Like you're
Yeah,
probably not taking on a ton of other new initiatives in that window.
no. Now, there's a couple of things here that are maybe interesting too. So this solution came from my therapist,
Yes. All
right?
right. There's definitely
So
there's a title in this episode, like my therapist said, or something. My
always listen to your
therapist said
therapist, right?
spend more on ads.
Literally, I'm not even joking. So we're having this conversation. I'm like, yeah, we're doing okay. Like we're getting by, but we're not getting ahead, and we're kind of in limbo, and the whole story, right? And she goes, "Why don't you just raise ad spend and just start selling yourself? Like, why don't you jump into sales?" And she knows I've done this
Yeah.
before. And then my answer was, "Yeah, but like I'm a CEO. I run a podcast called Becoming CEO. Like I'm building an organization. This is not about me. Like I can't be stuck doing this stuff forever.
Yeah.
All this stuff,
Yeah.
right?" And then she goes, "Oh, okay. But you have the time to sell? Yeah. And you could sell? Yeah. And it's the most reliable way to generate revenue? Yeah." She goes, "Oh, so you're putting your ego ahead of growth." Oh man.
As everyone says, hey, who's your therapist? Can I get some of that?
I'm like, ah, yeah. Because my ego doesn't love it. My ego
No.
doesn't love that I have to go back into sales.
No.
My ego doesn't love that I'm not really going to be for the next 6 to 9 months playing CEO the way I'd like to play CEO. My ego doesn't love that I'm going to have a full calendar and be busy. My ego doesn't love that uh, building a sales organization has been so challenging at this stage. My ego doesn't love all these things, right? And I let that Even this year, I think that we left growth on the table because I let that get in the way of what was good slash necessary for the business. And I've always said, and I've always found, what's bad for my ego is usually good for business.
Mm.
Now, that said,
My ego,
I'll tell you how I
my
motivate
ego is not
myself.
sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay. Me neither,
yeah,
right? And I'll tell you how I'm getting around it though. So at the end of the day, like if I'm going to go back into sales, and I'm not going to go full time into sales ever. We're talking about part time, no matter what, because I still have other things I need to do. If I'm going to go back into sales, I got to motivate myself. I'm just going to pay myself more.
yeah.
I'm going to take commissions on all the sales I'm going to make, and I'm probably going to increase my salary via commissions by anywhere from 50 to 100%. Okay. In the short term, like that's to me personally, that's motivating enough to get my head around, half a calendar full of sales calls the next 6 to 9 months. At least I'll have more money. At least I'll
Right.
make more money. At least I'll take home more money. And I'm not taking away from the business or cashing in on profits. I'm basically paying myself the commission I'd pay somebody
Right.
else.
Yeah. And since well, because you were doing that when you hopped back in last time, and quite frankly, the second I heard you say that, I'm like, because I'm now selling, and I'm like, but I'm not paying myself the commission, and I'm not super like I don't fully enjoy. I like go back and forth real hard, teeter tottering on like liking sales, not liking sales. And I am the type, I do believe that there are people that can close better than me. Like everyone's like, oh, no one can close better than the founder. Like, I think that is actually BS. I definitely think there's plenty of people that can close better than me. Um, but yeah, like would I be more incentivized and more likely to like power through it than if I were, you know, giving myself the commission, which is interesting because yeah, in order for
Oh,
someone to be doing it.
I think you have to. I think you must for a couple of reasons. One is you're going to inflate the profits of your business now by doing somebody else's job. Someone should get paid for that job, and if it's you, you should get paid for it.
True.
And then secondly, the motivation. You're just going to be more motivated to do it if you're going to make more money doing it.
Is it weird that I'm not sure that that would be true for me? But that's almost like a different conversation.
Eh, Let's put it this way. Well, I think you need to attach the money to
Yeah, yeah,
something. It's money, it's money,
yeah. I
right?
mean, well,
But if,
I do profit share, so like I do get it is pulled out to me in some degree, but I would probably make more if I was paying myself the commission the way that we structured commission before.
so, then maybe it doesn't make a big
Yeah,
difference to you then, right? Because
I'd have
maybe
to
if you
look
don't
at
pay
it.
the commission, profit stronger, you're taking the money
Yeah,
either way. But I think it's hard. It's hard for
yeah,
anybody to say, "Well, I'm now going to do this work that I'm not necessarily enthused about
yeah.
with no material impact to my income." I think that's a tough sell.
How do you like? What would you say to the person who's like maybe has a similar tough decision, um, possibly the exact same scenario, and they're like, "Oh crap," or like they're like, "Oh man, there's this one thing that I've been thinking about that is similar to this 6 to 9 months." Like, how do you like? Because we've also had another episode. It's like if you're trying to solve too many problems at once or with too many different things, like you're not even going to be know what worked. And so it's like this becomes a dedicated focus, which means there's likely other things that are now having to be put on the back burner that you possibly even wanted to do. Uh, and so listener is now listening and saying, oh man, like, but I wanted to do X, Y, Z, by the next 9 months. If I double down and do the thing that I now feel like I might have to do, that might have to wait. Any words of ass kicking or wisdom to that person?
Yeah, I'm going to read to you a quote from Andrew Huberman on his
Mm,
Instagram. He says the neuroscience research on willpower makes clear that your anterior mid cingulate cortex, AMCC, is a key hub for leaning into undesired effort. Your AMCC is activated by engaging in behaviors that you don't want to do, or by resisting strong impulses. Your AMCC slash willpower, talking about willpower, can grow throughout the lifespan by regularly doing undesired things that are hard.
Mm.
Don't make any of this psychologically or physically damaging, of course. So to me, it's like, I actually don't dislike selling. So it kind of applies. Like, I'm not enthused by the fact that I am going to throw myself back into sales for the next 6 to 9 months. It's not where I wanted to be.
Mm.
It's not what I was hoping for. I don't dislike selling as a practice. I actually enjoy it in many ways, but it is going to be tiring. I am going to be busier. There are things about it that
Mm.
frustrate me, and I'd rather not do it if I had the choice, right? So to me, this is a good example of uh, flexing the willpower
Mm.
muscle by leaning into the activity that is, I know, going to be good for the business, although undesirable to me.
Mm.
And if I make a career out of doing things like this that are, again, like I said, bad for my ego, I don't love it, but good for the business, I'm going to develop a track record of making good decisions
For
and being
sure.
able to follow through on them, even if I don't love
Yeah,
it
yeah.
personally.
Yep. That's a good quote. And I like that response. So you passed. But seriously, can I get the name of your therapist?
I'll make a referral.
Dude, her referral. Hey, maybe you just get a referral commission, and just from this episode, you just make all that
There
extra
you
money
go.
back.
There you go.
Um,
No more sales calls for me.
yeah, cool. Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. Like, and in some ways, the that quote, you know, I didn't want to make the decision that I made when I let a couple people go and then put things back on my plate. Um, there are obviously upsides, like I'm making more, um, which I love that aspect. There is in some areas, and I was actually just journaling about this morning. Like, there's I I almost have like stress isn't the right word, but it's almost like I'm still overwhelmed. Like I'm overwhelmed because I have more stuff on my plate. I actually, yeah, I think that's like I'm overwhelmed because I have more stuff on my plate, and there's like a lot that has to get done that I want to get done that is also on my plate that like I just physically can't do all the things at the same time because there's less mental bandwidth, energy, and a lot just on me. Um, but with the extra cushion from the money and like the okay, well, like we're having like a meh month, um, but a meh month the way if we had the same month 2 months ago, like the way my business was running, we would have lost money, and now it's like it like we're not going to be that bad. Like okay, it eats into my profit a little bit, but like we'll be fine, you know. And there's uh like a calm that comes with that in some ways that is like all right, like I'm not panicking, I'm not like some of the anxiety that came with taking the money hit that like so I don't have that. But then there's the some of the ego of like like I want to be doing more. You know, like what does this say about me? And so it's like I have like the it's like I still have a certain level of anxiety, stress, and all of that, but with less like I don't know, chaos or uh it, it's less pain like less painful in some way. It's a different type of
I mean, I think this notion of finding the calm is really the most important idea, right? In any circumstance, you got to be able to find a way and a place to go that where you can calm down and you can make good sound decisions and not let the anxiety get the better of you. That was me last year when we had to downsize. and my ego
Yeah,
hated
yeah,
it. We talked about it, drove me nuts. I'm like, what kind of entrepreneur am I that we're downsizing? I'm
yeah, yeah,
downsizing. I've only overgrown,
yeah,
right? For 5 years, revenue went up and to the right, and I'm downsizing. What a colossal and
yeah,
spectacular and public failure and humiliation.
yeah,
This is my
yeah, yeah,
brain a year
yeah,
ago, right? And then we did it, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is way better. I'm more calm. I can relax. We're actually now like we have money in the bank and things have recovered nicely and the economics are getting better. And there's been all these
yeah.
benefits
Do you think
um,
that's part of like
that
that?
came from just,
Do you think that's part of like the to that quote? Like you're kind of building this discipline, and even like a thick skin is not the right word, but like as you make decisions like this and see them through, uh, your ability to withstand them and look at it when it happens again is like, oh yeah, like whatever, like been through that before or been through something similar. I know that I survived that time. Whereas like, some of these, like when it happens the first time, you like panic and you change a bunch of shit and you make it worse. It's like, that's kind of, I mean, I guess that's really just, you've become, you've, through the discipline, you're gaining wisdom, uh, and you're just more experienced. So like, it just, you take it less personally, which obviously also you taking it less personally has a positive impact on the business because so many of us let what's happening to us personally impact the business, whereas now you have enough reps under your belt where like you can kind of withstand some of that stuff is also kind of interesting.
well, I think a lot of the conversation around entrepreneurship, when we've talked about this, is dangerous because, especially when they're catering to the newbies who are just getting started and trying to sell people on the idea of entrepreneurship or a
Mm-hmm.
business model, it's 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 being sold as everything will be
Right.
easy. You won't have a boss
Yeah.
anymore. You won't struggle with the pain of that 9 to 5. You'll be independent. You'll be your own boss. You'll make your own decisions. You'll have time freedom, and all of those upsides are
Right.
true. And some of it is really goddamn
Mm-hmm.
hard,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And and I think what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs get caught up in like the upsides of entrepreneurship, and they want to experience those things, but they're not willing to go through the pains of entrepreneurship. And if you ask me, if you're a business owner and everything feels easy and all of your decisions are
Mm-hmm.
easy and none of it feels hard and none of it feels challenging, your days are numbered.
Yeah, and I
You will get wiped out sooner
yeah,
or
and
later.
there's like 0% possibility that that is actually happening for anybody. I feel like it might look like that from the outside, obviously, but like the reality is it's likely not.
Talk to entrepreneurs who have made it, however you want to define made it, and you're going to hear a lot of
Yeah,
stories of pain,
yeah,
hardship, challenge, struggle, egos being put in check, getting humbled.
yeah. It's like
That's
the
the game.
entrepreneur that wants to grow their own business, but doesn't want to do the self development that is kind of a requirement that comes along with it. You know, because that's kind of what's happening, right? Like you're one of my former mentors, Brad, said like your business will never exceed your own capacity as an entrepreneur. And it's like these experiences, these decisions, it's expanding your capacity to handle and navigate, you know, different circumstances that are sometimes out of your control. And like, are you going to still be standing like on the other side of this? And the more times you can be standing on the other side of it, like the less likely something like that is going to take you out in the future, you know? And so like if you're unwilling to kind of if you're just giving up at the first time things get hard or even the second or third, right? Like again, your days are numbered, you know? Like maybe you're not cut out for this.
And so, if you're listening here, I'd ask yourself, what is the thing that you need to do that you've been resisting?
Mm,
What is the thing that you need to do, and it's good for the business, and that the second, third, fourth order consequences are going to be positive, but the first order consequence is negative because you're not going to like it and you don't want to do it. that's probably the thing you should be
Yeah.
doing.
And if that thing is not finding a therapist, the second thing is probably finding a therapist, because clearly they're going to help you make some of these decisions.
Oh, we should do a whole episode on that.
I'm happy to do so. In fact, reminded me, I need to schedule my next call with my therapist. So
There you go.
if you're listening,
Next week on
I'm
Becoming
not
CEO,
increasing my ad
finding a
spend,
therapist.
though. I'm not increasing my ad spend. All right, guys. Hope you found this useful. Let us know your takeaways. Hit us up in the IG or wherever you're listening and tuning in. Until next time, we'll keep you posted on where this goes from here.